I'm going to introduce everybody in just a second, but I wanted to say welcome on behalf of the NACAC Rural and Small Town Special Interest Group, or SIG. You might hear us use that word a few times if you're not familiar with it already. But today we are putting together our second learning lab of the year on working with National College Access Partners. And we have some wonderful guests joining us today that we're really excited about. Just to go ahead and introduce them, we have Ashlea Haney here, who's the Interim Senior Director of Recruitment Admissions from LEDA, Dinée Dorame from the College Horizons program, which we love, who's the Associate Director there, and then Marla Ross, the Senior Program Associate of High School Programs at QuestBridge. And my name is Corinne Smith. I'm your moderator today, and I am part of the Special Interest Group's leadership team. I want to go ahead and give each of our panelists a minute or so to introduce themselves in a little bit more detail, because we do have some incredible experts with us today. Ashlea, do you want to start?
Of course. Thank you, Corinne. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you all again for your time and attention. I'm so excited to be able to be here representing LEDA. It's an organization I hold very near and dear to my heart. We are a nationwide nonprofit that annually selects 100 students from across the nation to join a lifelong and, life-changing community. I myself benefited from the program, so I worked with LEDA now for 4 years, but I started my relationship 10 years ago with our organization as a scholar, and it has been hands down the most special community I've been a part of, and genuinely one of the biggest resources throughout my journey from high school onward. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be with these incredible other panelists. And yeah, would love to share this opportunity and answer any questions folks have today.
Thank you so much. How about Dinée? Why don't you go next?
Yat Dinée Dorame Nishye, Tabahan Nishlin, Nakai Dina and Bashashin, Totsoni Dashache, Nakai Dina and Dashanale. My name is Dinée Dorame. I am the Associate Director of College Horizons, as Corinne mentioned, and I kind of come at things from, I guess, the admissions side first. So thank you for inviting me here, Corinne. Corinne is my former colleague at the Yale admissions office. So it's nice to see you and like friendly faces today in this space. But I've been at College Horizons for about 4 years now. I got started in the organization as a high school student, and I attended the program back in 2009, and it opened my eyes to a lot of new college opportunities. I'm from New Mexico. College Horizons is a national nonprofit, but we're based here in New Mexico, near Santa Ana and Sandia Pueblos. And so we serve a lot of our local communities with various workshops, webinars, and just different counseling resources. But we also serve 200 to 300 Native high school juniors and seniors every year annually at our flagship summer program. So you'll hear me talk a little bit more about that. I guess I also didn't mention, I introduced myself in my language, but I'm a citizen of the Navajo Nation, and everyone on our staff identifies as Native or Indigenous. So that's a big part of our work.
Thanks, Dinée. I love that these programs always bring new and old friends together. It's awesome. How about Marla, another partner I've worked with for a long time here?
Yes, thank you, Corinne. So my name is Marla Ross. I work at QuestBridge. I've worked there for about 2 years now, but similar to the others. I actually started about 8 years ago. I was a college prep scholar and then National College Match finalist. Ended up attending at the University of Southern California through QuestBridge. So I was a QuestBridge scholar on campus. And similarly, it really changed the trajectory of my life and my career. So it is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm excited to share more about the organization with you all today. I also come from a small rural community. I grew up on a farm in southwestern Ohio, and so I think I'm really excited, especially to be presenting to you all and sharing a little bit more about QuestBridge and its opportunities.
Thank you all so much. I'm really excited for this panel to share more, and for everyone joining us today and who will watch us a little bit later to hear more about these incredible organizations. Just for a little kind of sneak peek of what we're going to do today. We've already done kind of our welcome and introductions. We're going to go in this order and give each of our panelists a few minutes to speak about their different organizations. We'll start with College Horizons, then LEDA, then QuestBridge, and then we're really going to open it up to your questions. I have a few that I've come up with, but we would love to answer as many live questions as possible. So with that, Kind of the way that this is going to work is that at the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A feature where you can submit questions to the panelists, and I will ask them out loud. Sometimes there might be a very specific question. The panelists can kind of type the answer in the Q&A, but we really do want to make this as engaging as possible. So the more involved you all are as participants, the more questions you ask, the more you laugh at our jokes, the better today will be. If you were in person with me, I would say deal and make you agree. So please do ask whatever questions you are wondering. As a webinar attendee, you're not on screen. Don't worry about that. You're always going to be muted. And this session is being recorded. So we do know a lot of people can't join us during the middle of the workday, but we'll watch these a little bit later through the Rural SIG's website or the information we send out. Sorry, working on the website. But with that, we are going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to turn it over to Dinée.
Perfect. I just introduced myself, so I feel like I'm fresh in your minds here. And I don't know, Corinne, I guess I'll just tell you when to advance the slide. But like I mentioned, my name is Dinée Dorame, and I'm the Associate Director of College Horizons. I'll talk a little bit more about the structure of our program here in a bit. So if you want to go ahead and hit the next slide. Cool. So College Horizons, we are a 501c3 national nonprofit based in New Mexico. We're specifically based in Bernalillo, New Mexico, like I said, really at the cross section of several different Pueblo communities. There's over 20 tribes in New Mexico, so just the space we're in alone, we have a lot of touch points, and many of my colleagues' children go to schools in the local area. I grew up in the local area, so we're very much, even though we serve student-based nationally, we're very grounded in where we're based. And so we have a focus specifically on college access and success and assisting Native American, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian students with the college and also graduate school and professional school admission and financial aid processes. So we are not just serving high school juniors and seniors, we're also serving graduate students or prospective graduate students through some of our programming. We do hope that our students see it as a pathway that can lead them to different opportunities through college and beyond. So next slide. So our mission is to encourage and facilitate the education of Native youth on a broader level. Like I said, our staff is all Native people, so it's a really fun environment where we get to learn about each other in terms of our tribal communities. There's only 6 of us, but I do think it's really important to note that 4 of us are alumni of the program, myself included, and it's really great to work with colleagues who have experienced the program at a student level, because I think we are very engaged typically with our own alumni base through that. And we just launched a podcast, so this is a fun plug right now where we feature both people from our staff and also people from our alumni community. So if you're a counselor looking to learn more about how College Horizons has impacted our students and alumni, we have a fabulous podcast that's hosted by my colleague Kendall Harvey, and he does a great job, so definitely check that out. I'll try to link it after this presentation. But a big reason I'm here today is to talk about our flagship program, which goes by the name of our organization, College Horizons, probably what you may or may not have heard of at this point. It's a 1-week summer session program. We usually host it at least twice a year, so it'll be 1 week in June, maybe 1 week in July, at different college campuses. So we rotate around the country depending on which colleges are willing and able to host us. We partner with over 50 colleges and universities at any given time. And we also invite tribal school counselors, Indian education specialists, teachers, high school counselors to come and serve as the program faculty. And of course, the 50 plus colleges and universities we partner with also send admissions officers to us to serve as program faculty. So while we host these, several hundred students on a college campus for a week, we're also hosting about 75 college admissions professionals. And we're hoping that we serve as a connection point for families, for students, and for the colleges themselves, and even for the high school counselors in this sense, because everyone is kind of learning from each other. We always laugh. It's like it's simultaneously a developmental opportunity for a lot of the professionals that are present, because it's really like coming together every year of admissions counselors and people who are focused in this area and serving our students. And so it's a great opportunity to come together for the work and to also meet students whose applications, these folks might be reading or supporting on the high school side. So next slide, please. Yeah, and so we've served over the years, we're over 20 years old, College Horizons. I think we're actually about to hit our 25th anniversary coming soon in the next year or so. So we've served over 3,000 Native high school students over the years, and 99% of students who attend our program are admitted to college. Part of attending our program is that you complete a college application, or a common application actually, before you leave. And so you do that with the support and help of our faculty. You know, we go through 3 drafts of the essay. We go through a ton of different like cultural identity workshops with students, so they can meet each other, interact with students of other tribal communities. It's really just a week of like college access and development and information. So kids are hit with a lot, but in turn, we end up with a lot of students in college at any given time. 85% of our alumni have graduated college in 4 to 5 years, which I think is probably our most significant stat. That was what I'm proud of, because of just the attrition rates and things for Native students look much different on the other side. And so I see this program as a real opportunity for so many of our students, because it impacted my life. My sister attended the program. So it's just a wonderful way for students to get to know this process. I did want to highlight our recent and upcoming CH host sites. So we have actually been remote for the past 3 programs. I'm like so sad looking at the little graphic, because it feels like we haven't seen our students, you know, and seen our faculty in person in so long. So from starting in 2020 all the way through this summer, we have held a remote program. We have stayed strong through that and continued to serve, you know, a lot of students in that and hit a lot of our target numbers, but it has been a difficult process to shift our entire program online. But next year, 2023, we have made the decision that we are going to go in person again, and our host sites will be Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, and the University of Redlands in Redlands, California. So our students and applicants this year can look forward to an in-person program next summer. Next slide, please. Cool, thank you. All right, so these are just some stats just to give you a sense of some of what our program, you know, our student demographics look like. Like I said, over 3,000 students, 200 to 300 per cohort. But I wanted to highlight in each cohort, each summer, we usually have about 130 different high schools represented. We have over 60 tribal nations represented, and we typically hit about 25 or so states. That's something we actually really try to work on. We know there are Native students everywhere, but the word definitely gets out easier in communities where there are students who have come to our program in that tribal community year after year after year. So we do rely a lot on that type of family communication, tribal community connection, because there are some states we definitely wish we could get more students, you know, to come to College Horizons from. But over half of our students do identify as first generation in their family to attend college, and also are Pell eligible. So over 60% of our students reside within 60 miles from their tribal homelands. So this also means that a majority of our students are typically from rural or reservation areas. And so we serve a lot of students in small communities, like I said, our own tribal communities. We have had over 75 college partners over the years. Some of our colleges rotate in and out depending on their different, you know, needs that year, or even budget situations. But we also have served over 120 admissions counselors and 60 high school counselors and tribal educators just in the past few years. So I just wanted to highlight that. And you'll see actually these pictures that have been flying by too in the PowerPoint. These are an example of like what would be a small group at our program. So we're bringing in these hundreds of students, but we're also splitting them up into these small groups, usually anywhere between 10 and 15 students per small group. And they're paired with, they blend in honestly, because they look so young in here, but there's several admissions officers in this picture as well from different colleges. And so these, you know, group of folks would get to know each other throughout the week and really find mentorship, find community and connection as they work on these applications. So we always take these really adorable group photos on the last day of the program, and I love putting them in the presentation so people can get a sense of what it looks like to be there. Next slide. So when students attend our 6-day program, this is just a quick snapshot of what they'll do. I won't read every single one, but like I said, really editing excuse me, editing and completing a polished common application is our goal. Is our main goal by the end of the program, and also making sure that we workshop students' essays. We also give them a lot of financial aid information and strategies. Part of attending College Horizons is that we ask students to have their parents submit their tax forms to us. They go through a pretty rigorous process to apply, which I will talk about here in a second briefly. We're really looking to mirror the college application process as much as possible so that students feel prepared to tackle that in the coming year or two. They also attend a college fair with all of our college partners, which is a great opportunity for them to talk to colleges who may not be assigned to their specific small group throughout the week. And then most importantly, I think they connect with other Native youth, which was the biggest part of the program for me. I was a student who went to an extremely diverse high school here in Albuquerque, but I did not find myself meeting a lot of other Native students in my classes or in my extracurriculars. So College Horizons has the ability to create a lifelong network for these students as they move through college, and they can continue on their pathway with each other. Next slide, please. I'm trying to like fly through these because I don't have a lot of time. Sorry for the typo in program eligibility, my bad. So this is actually a screenshot I took from our website, just so you can see what is necessary of our students as they're applying to our program. We get a lot of questions on, does a Native student applying have to be an enrolled member of a tribal community? And we've done a lot of work around this. We understand that there's a lot of questions about that, but we do ask that students be an enrolled member of a federally recognized or state recognized tribe, mostly because we believe Native tribes are sovereign. They set their own rules regarding tribal enrollment. So we defer to the tribe rather than try to determine anything ourselves. So we have some language about that on our website and in the asterisks there. But being a current sophomore or junior, a minimum 3.0 GPA, if you do have a student who you feel like fits our criteria, but is right on the cusp of that GPA requirement, we typically still encourage them to apply because we do review holistically. So if you want to go to the next slide. And then these are just the things we ask students to submit to us. I won't go through them, but like I said, it's really our goal to mirror the college application process. So students go through this with their families ahead of time. Next slide. And like I said, our application review process is holistic. We are a competitive program. We do receive a lot of applications every year, and we want to take every student as much as possible, but it may not always be the case. So we are all people who have experience in either college admissions or this work. So we're usually the ones reviewing the applications and just determining our cohort year to year. But we do give priority to those who apply on time. We usually have a rolling deadline after that. Next slide. And these are just some tips for counselors. I think this might be one of my last slides. So these are just some tips for counselors because we do ask students to submit a counselor recommendation. We really want you to contextualize your school for us. A lot of these students are either out of school with a lot of other Native students, or they may be the only Native student in their class or community. And so it can be really helpful for us to learn some of those little things from counselors, even if you maybe don't interface with the student as much, providing as much information as possible to us about this student's experience and whether or not they have, Native resources on campus, Native teachers, things like that, because that can really help us understand how they'll benefit from College Horizons. If you want to hit the next slide, actually. Yeah, so just one last thing here as I kind of hit the timing mark. We have not yet determined our deadline for this year, so that's why I did not mention it. We are going to be in person, but our deadline or our application, it hasn't even released yet, so students should look out for that in the winter most likely, and keep an eye on our website, collegehorizons.org, and anyone can email me with further questions. We have done away with our program tuition, which is really great, so students can attend our program for free. We do ask that people pay for airfare, but usually well over half of our students receive financial aid for that airfare. So we try to do our best to get students to a college campus, get them to our program, and get them involved in College Horizons. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Dinée. That was awesome. And I came up with like so many questions and thoughts that I have. So I know that the audience and our participants probably have some as well. This is the perfect time. If they're starting to come to you, please do feel free to put them in the Q&A. But for the moment, we're going to turn it over to Ashlea at LEDA.
Thank you so much, Corinne. Yeah, so again, my name is Ashlea. I'm the interim senior director here at LEDA Scholars Program in the Department of Recruitment and Admissions. And I'm excited to share our opportunity with y'all. We are a nationwide program that brings together a community of 100 scholars each year to support them in their professional, academic, and personal lives. So I'm ready for the next slide, and I'm going to share a bit how we start and how we get going. So first and foremost, the application actually opened today for the LEDA Scholars Program. So you might actually already be on our emailing list. If not, we're going to get to you. But just sent it out this morning that our application launches. Our program begins for current high school juniors in the summer of 2023. This upcoming, it begins with a 5-week summer institute. And that's really the foundation of our organization, but it continues. We continue to provide ongoing support for students through their senior years with a college guidance team, in college where they have a college success team there supporting them, and in post-graduation and beyond with our career and alumni support. I want to emphasize that this is all at absolutely zero cost to LEDA scholars and their families. There are no costs associated with applying or participating in our program. Next slide, please. Now, as I mentioned, though, our program begins with that transformative 5-week summer institute that really lays the foundation for our community moving forward. So the goals of this summer institute are that scholars are able to develop leadership skills, that they are prepared for college level classes, that scholars learn about social problems, and that they're able to build a strong and long-lasting community. Now, I really want to emphasize the importance of that fourth goal. I really believe that so much of what sets LEDA apart from many other organizations is that community, which is such a big resource for students. But again, so much of that is created at Summer Institute in the 5 weeks that we get to bring scholars together. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, that 5-week summer institute, we are paying for everything. So it's free room, board, and travel, fully funded, fully planned out, fleshed out, and supported through LEDA. And these 100 students from across the nation, they come from across the country, from very different backgrounds. We have students who are from cities, we have students who are from rural backgrounds, everywhere in between. And they're getting to experience what it's like to be, on a college campus, and a bit of what it's going to be like transitioning into college. So they live in a dorm, they eat in the dining hall, and they attend these 4 classes that we've set out for them on campus that are all aimed at helping them achieve those goals I listed in the last slide. But more than anything, at LEDA, we're not just concerned with getting students to college, but getting them through college, having that be spaces where they're happy. And so one of the first ways we do that is by providing the college guidance course. Again, this is a 5-week-long course. They are learning in a classroom with one another about the college application process, about the financial aid process. Our college guidance model is one that emphasizes best fit. So there are no top colleges that LEDA, are telling students to apply to, but instead it's very much so about where are you going to be the happiest? Yes, we're thinking about schools that are going to be good financial fits and academic fits, but also the social fit of it, right? So they're experiencing this in a classroom with their fellow scholars, but they're also receiving one-on-one individualized sessions with that college guidance counselor, who's not only, building that relationship with them during the 5-week summer institute, but will continue to support them throughout their senior year. And I'll share a bit more about that later. Writing instruction is very similar. So, I know everybody here knows how much of a tackle that personal statement is as part of the common application. I mean, for any age, it's tough, but 16, 17, 18, tell us who you are. That's hard work. It's a big challenge. So writing instruction is about not just preparing students for those college level writing that they will be, transitioning to as they go to college, but also in building and developing their personal statement. So by the end of the 5-week summer institute, they will have a first draft of their personal statement, and then they will continue to be working with that writing instructor throughout their senior year, who's going to support them and putting that final version of their Common App forward, but is also there to support them in all other applications that they send off. So that's scholarships, fly out programs. Again, anything that they're applying to that requires writing, they're going to receive support from that writing instructor who, again, it's a classroom environment that they're learning about writing instruction, but it's also meeting with them one-on-one during the 5-week Summer Institute, building a relationship and a foundation for, again, the support they'll receive moving forward. The third class is test prep. I know you all know here, but we emphasize that testing, those scores have nothing to do with a student's intelligence or how prepared they are for college. However, we fully understand that many schools still require it, right? So at LEDA, we begin with a diagnostic test to determine which class a student will be placed in, which test they'll be preparing for. We emphasize for them that, again, their scores are really just a measure of how much exposure and practice they've had with these materials. And we hope that through group tutoring sessions and practice tests, we can help them boost their confidence and comfortability taking these tests in the case that, again, the schools they apply to require those testing scores. The fourth and final class is aspects of leadership. This is where we clearly get into a bit of that college level work, the readings, discussions. We emphasize peer learning in this class. Again, what makes LEDA so special is our incredibly diverse community. And we have that emphasis on diversity because we believe that we can learn from each other and be young, impactful, compassionate leaders in our communities. So this specific class culminates in a community impact project in which a student will spend those 5 weeks thinking about an impact they want to have in their community. It can look different for each student. And with the help of their peers, the support of their peers, they are, again, getting feedback and thinking about how they're going to follow through on those plans in their senior year. Now, those are the classes, but as I mentioned, one of the biggest components about LEDA is our community. So I'm ready for the next slide. Our community is super long lasting. It's inclusive. It's one that, again, I've spoken to as a LEDA scholar. It was life-changing for me. We affectionately say it's LEDA for life in the community. We mean that in terms of the tangible and intensive support that LEDA is able to give our scholars at every point in their journeys. But one of the biggest fronts is on our community. So I've included a little kind of corny quote from one of our scholars on their slides, but I think it's one that really puts the hammer to the nail. And that is that some of the closest people to me are other scholars. Friends does not encompass the level of love and care we have for each other. Being a scholar is knowing that you have hundreds of people in your corner rooting for you, even if you've never met. There is so much love in my heart for other scholars that I meet, and the feeling is mutual. There is no judgment among us, only love and acceptance. Again, I know from the outside in, a little corny, but I can confirm as a scholar that this is absolutely one of the things that makes LEDA so special and, is so often a shared feeling across our community. Next slide, please. So, but as I mentioned, our support continues past that 5-week Summer Institute in incredibly tangible ways. During a senior year for a scholar, they're continuing to receive that one-on-one counseling throughout the college guidance process or college application process, excuse me. They receive personalized letters of recommendations for college, scholarship, and flyout applications. Not unlike the other incredible orgs here, we've been able to develop, relationships with colleges and universities across the country. And so this is one of the ways that we advocate for our scholars. We provide intensive feedback on application essays. Again, it's that writing instructor who scholars developed a relationship with, who is continuing with them throughout their senior year. We provide funding for all application and testing fees. So any costs associated with a student applying to or going to college, we're going to take care of. And we also support students in applying for financial aid and scholarships and advocating once they receive their award letters, which, as you all know, is something that oftentimes our students don't know anything about, right? Like, I know for myself, my mom wasn't even trying to give me her social security number so I could fill out the FAFSA. It was with LEDA support. And again, LEDA not just working with me, but with my family that, I was able to receive that financial aid. So that's really important to us that we're able to alleviate those concerns for scholars and their families. Now, in college and beyond, our support continues. We provide academic counseling and personal support from the LEDA College Success Team. We also have a peer mentoring program. So scholars are across the country at so many different colleges and universities that almost always scholars who are coming in as first years will have scholars that are already on that campus who are there and want to support them as an in-person on-campus support in that transition their freshman year. So that's something that's really special. But even beyond that, they're also receiving, again, support from that college success team and our LEDA Career Network team. So they provide career counseling that looks like resume prep, interview prep. It also looks like us sending out exclusive internship and job opportunities to our community. We understand that the same barriers that exist for entrance for first generation, low income students, underrepresented students in the college access realm also exist in the professional realm, right? So we build these relationships with businesses, corporations who want to employ LEDA scholars, want to LEDA scholars to benefit their specific organizations. And it's our career and alumni network that really is able to provide that support to scholars. We also have a graduate school initiative. So we're supporting scholars who are interested in also taking that route post graduation. Next slide, please. So a little bit about our results. LEDA scholars have enrolled at 99 different best fit colleges and universities. At the bottom of this slide, you can see the schools with the most scholars in attendance. I want to emphasize again that our scholars do go to a wide range of colleges and universities. And again, we are all about best fit colleges. So there are no top colleges. Clearly, a lot of big hitters on this list. However, it's just about getting scholars to schools where they, again, are going to have their needs met and also be places where they're happy. LEDA scholars do receive prestigious scholarships, including 57 GATE scholars in college currently, but they also receive outstanding financial aid. So most scholars have tuition, room, and board entirely funded by their university. Next slide, please. Now, I'm sure you're like, all right, who should apply? This sounds great. Let me get into it. So currently the application, which I mentioned dropped today, is eligible for current high school juniors who are attending public schools in the United States and graduating in the class of 2024. They are a US citizen, permanent residents, or DACA status. They have a cumulative unweighted GPA of 3.5 or above. That is a bit flexible. And again, we're just thinking about making sure that the students we're admitting are, prepared for the rigor of Summer Institute. We don't want anybody to feel like they're drowning, but we do practice holistic admission. So if you have a student in mind who doesn't meet that requirement, I would still encourage them to apply. And you're also more than welcome to specifically ask me those questions. And yeah, they have a total family income of $90,000 or below. Successful applicants also generally have a desire to be challenged academically. They have a strong commitment to their studies, a desire to be a compassionate leader in their families, schools, and communities. And we recognize that leadership shows up in many different ways. Sure, sometimes it's being, volunteering, being the president of whatever. Other times it's being a caregiver for an elder in the family or for younger siblings or for holding a job. So I want to emphasize that. And then last but not least, that they have a connection to LEDA's core values of excellence, integrity, compassion, and community. Not unlike College Horizons, we practice holistic admission. So we read every single application that's submitted, and really the big hitters are just that they are juniors attending public high schools, graduating the class of 2024, that they have that citizenship, permanent residency, or DACA, and that their family income is less than $90,000 a year. Next slide. All right, so I'm coming up on the end here. Thank you all for your time. We are on social media platforms across the board, but as you can see, I've really zeroed in on our Instagram logo. That is because that's where we are connecting with our applicants all throughout the season. So one of the things that I think makes LEDA really special is it's not just about getting the opportunity out to these students, but I'm actually going to be here to support them every step of the way through the application process. So if you want to go to next slide, one of the things that we do is we provide virtual, I think there was one more, maybe it didn't show up. Well, I'll send it in the chat, but we provide virtual event sessions every month. And those are opportunities for applicants who are working or starting an application to come out to receive support through the application, to be able to ask their questions live. And so, as I mentioned, I'll send that in the chat. But if you are, if you have students who might be interested in applying to LEDA, it's really simple. You just go to ledascholars.org. On the top right, there's a great little button to say apply. And I know this was a quick presentation. We actually have our first educator info session that's full length on the 13th of this month. So I'll send that out as well. But that's a bit about LEDA in a nutshell. And thank you all so much for your time. And I wanted to check in, Corinne, do they have access to the chat?
They should. You should be able to send it to everyone. But thank you, Ashlea. That was awesome. And what timing that today was the launch of the program.
I know.
That's awesome. I'm going to go ahead and just move really quickly and turn it over to Marla at QuestBridge. And then we're going to go and answer a bunch of your questions and some of mine.
Thank you so much. I'll try to be brief. It's easier said than done. So as I mentioned, I'm representing QuestBridge, and our mission at the end of the day is to connect high achieving low income students to top colleges throughout the nation. Next slide. So we were originally founded in Palo Alto, California, similar to the other wonderful organizations here today. We actually started as a summer program at Stanford University, but have grown into a nationwide network. And as mentioned, our mission is to help bright, motivated students from low-income backgrounds navigate college admissions, access these colleges, and then have additional opportunities after college graduation. We've grown, into supporting students throughout college and after college as well. So to date, we've had over 90,000 students served by our programs, 30,000 students admitted to a QuestBridge college partner, and we have 20,000 QuestBridge scholars and alumni nationally and worldwide. Next slide. So just quickly, these are our college partners. They include small liberal arts colleges and big research universities across the nation. And the key factor is that they all are committed to meeting 100% of demonstrated financial need. Next slide. So these are our programs, starting from our program for high school juniors up into our programs for alumni. So just to quickly go through those. So the College Prep Scholars Program, this is for our high school juniors, and we really created it to prepare high school juniors for the selective college admissions process. So when a student applies for this program, they get a head start on the National College Match Program, which is a scholarship and admissions application process for high school seniors. Students don't have to apply or participate in the College Prep Scholars Program to participate in the National College Match. But again, it just offers various awards. I'll talk about it in just a moment. We have a dedicated slide to help them in the college admissions process. Next is the National College Match. So this is our flagship program, our most well-known program, and this is a free college admissions and scholarship application process. So if a student is selected by QuestBridge as a finalist, so we read all the applications at QuestBridge with the support of some outside readers as well. For the National College Match, then their application fees are waived at all of our college partners. And some of them are ultimately matched to our college partners, meaning that they're admitted with a full 4-year guaranteed scholarship. And many others who do not match, this is actually my situation, are admitted through regular decision with very generous financial aid packages, because again, the colleges we partner with are committed to meeting 100% of demonstrated need for students that are admitted. The next program that we offer is the QuestBridge Scholars Network, and that's the network of current college students who were National College Match finalists and enroll at a college partner. So similar to these other programs, we do have a lot of students each year. They're not exactly cohorts, but they're students who are, admitted to those colleges within the same year, and they automatically become a part of this network. And QuestBridge, we have a dedicated team, our college programs team, that works to select and train presidents of these networks to provide peer-to-peer support on campuses. These presidents also work with other offices on those campuses to connect students to resources, again, as we understand how challenging It can be for a lot of our students who are attending, first generation low income college students attending college for the first time. We also have nationwide opportunities. We recently launched a fellowship program to help mentor students in the area of careers. We have career coaches that work with students, help connect students to internships. So we're constantly growing and trying to expand opportunities available to our scholars. And then our last program is the Alumni Association. So this is a worldwide network that helps QuestBridge alumni navigate careers and life after college. We also just launched our graduate school match program, which is really exciting, as there's not a lot of funding in the graduate programs world. And so the current one is a fully funded MBA program. So it connects QuestBridge alumni to these programs at a few select graduate schools across the country. And we're hoping to expand to additional graduate programs in the future. All right, next slide. So I'm not going to go into detail. There's a lot of information on this slide, but this is the general criteria that we're looking for when we're looking at applicants and candidates. So similar to the other two organizations here, right? We really just want to make sure that the students we're selecting are prepared to succeed on our college partner campuses. So we're looking for, that combination of academic eligibility and academic achievement, as well as low financial eligibility. So we're looking for students that are high achieving and low income. And just to clarify on, the low income eligibility, we get a lot of questions about this. But typically that looks like students who are coming from households earning less than $65,000 annually for a household of 4 with minimal assets. So this can vary, if the student has a larger family, if there's extenuating circumstances. We don't have hard and fast cutoffs. And we do also take a holistic approach in reviewing applications. So these are not cutoffs, but general trends that we've seen in our previous scholars. But again, we just want to see that students have the academic abilities and personal qualities and motivation to succeed and really thrive at our college partner campuses. So next slide. So here's a little bit more about the College Prep Scholars Program. So as I mentioned, we created this program to get high school juniors motivated to prepare for college admissions. And this provides students with awards and resources to help them develop a strong application. So we offer things like our National College Admissions Conference. Unfortunately, these were virtual the past, unfortunately, because more students were able to attend. Traveling can sometimes be a challenge during this time of year, but we are looking forward to having them back on our college partner campuses moving forward. So, these are programs hosted in the summer. It's a day-long admissions conference. We invite students, families, we invite their educators often as well if they're able to attend. And these are attended by all of our 48 college partners. They present about their schools, present about various topics to help our students in the very competitive college admissions and application process. We also partner with our colleges to offer fully funded summer programs. Those are hosted by our college partners. But they work with QuestBridge and our team to help select students to attend those. Those take place over the summer. We have financial awards that we offer students to purchase supplies and resources for the college application process. Usually that looks like a laptop. Sometimes it pays for campus visits or things of that nature. And then we just have other dedicated resources, webinars, etc., to really help students apply and develop a strong application once they start applying in the fall. We also offer, it's hard to offer as, high touch support to our students. We do select over 3,000 college prep scholars, or at least we did in the past spring. And we selected over 6,000 National College Match finalists last fall. So we have a lot of students. But I actually am the person who runs the Facebook community group for our students. So they're always in there talking about the college applications, various deadlines, sharing spreadsheets, resources with each other. So again, it's, like peer support throughout the college application process. And it's really neat to have them be a part of that community and to help support that community as well as QuestBridge staff. So quickly going through the timeline for that program, our application opens in February, typically each year. It'll close in late March. In late April, college prep scholars are notified if they're selected. And then in summer, that's when they're benefiting from these different various awards and opportunities. And then the very late summer, that's when they can start to apply to the National College Match as a senior in high school, and their application carries over. So all information they've input carries over, so they really do have a head start. They've essentially completed a college application at that point. There's just a few more components they need to complete. And then moving on to the National College Match. This is our most well-known program. The deadline is late September. The application is currently open. So if you have high school seniors who you believe may be eligible, we really encourage you to let them know there's still enough time for them to apply. And the application deadline is September 27th for this. And this is, a free application. The application where we first review it by the 27th, that's free. And then the application, if students are selected as finalists, is forwarded on to our college partners that those students choose to apply to. That's free as well. And, some benefits of this program: if they are matched through this program, they receive a full 4-year scholarship with no loans or parent contribution to one of our college partners. It is that free application. They also can apply through QuestBridge regular decision later on if they don't want to rank colleges, as it is a binding early admissions process. They can choose just to apply through regular decision, or if they don't match, they apply through regular decision, and that's free as well. It is an opportunity to be considered for early admission at up to 15 college partners at once, which students may not be able to do through a typical early action or early decision round. As mentioned, there's multiple opportunities for admission. So if a student doesn't match, it doesn't mean that they're denied admission. They're able to often roll their application over into an early admission round if they choose, or apply through regular decision. And as mentioned, I think a huge benefit is that QuestBridge Scholars Network and Alumni Association. Those are communities for our scholars on their college campuses to help support them in college. They have national support from QuestBridge, and we're constantly expanding opportunities such as the Graduate School Match. All right, and then the timeline for that. So the application is open, as I mentioned, closes on September 27th. Finalists will be notified on October 19th if they were selected as a finalist, and then early December is when match scholarship recipients are notified. And this is just the Scholars Network and Alumni Association I mentioned. I pretty much covered some of those opportunities, but again, it's just a community of peers from similar backgrounds supporting one another. Leadership development, there's events. We host several events as well. We've had our QB convene to bring scholars and alumni together and network and just share in that community, hear from speakers from similar backgrounds, and have opportunities to network with one another as well. All right. Okay, so that brings me to the end of my slide. Again, we have our website with these full information sessions they go through. We have recorded resources. So I encourage you to check those out. I'll put them in the chat as well. But thank you all again for joining and listening.
Thanks, Marla. I saw one of our students, one of my favorite students, Natalia, in a bunch of those pictures, who is our former Quest Scholars president. So it always gets me excited to see some really great kiddos. What we're going to do now is we're going to enter into Q&A for the next 10 minutes or so. Before we do that, I'm just going to wrap up the last couple slides of this PowerPoint for our counselors to get a little bit of information about the SIG, turn it off so that we can not have this giant screen shared while we do some Q&A. So with that, we are going to have an upcoming Learning Lab next month on October 12th, talking a little bit about the FAFSA and financial aid and some of the changes coming that do specifically affect rural students and families, particularly farms and small businesses. So check that out. More information will go around to the SIG soon. And then if you are not a member of the SIG or you want to learn more, you can always join us. The special interest group, we are free. You do not have to be a NACAC member to be a part of the SIG. And we do a lot of these types of workshops and send out a lot of information about fly-ins and things like that for students. So there's a lot happening. Do be sure to check us out. With that, I'm going to turn off this PowerPoint and we're going to go right into some questions. So did that PowerPoint go away? It's a little harder with screen sharing. Give me a thumbs up if we're good. Okay, I'm seeing Ashlea nod over there. So what we're going to do next is we had a couple questions come in. I have a bunch of questions. Why don't we start with the one from Katie here in our Q&A, who asked, what do you all find most helpful in recruiting students and partners in rural areas, maybe that are new to you or kind of working with this type of work or the SIG for the first time? Does anyone want to jump in?
I'm happy to start us off. Well, I'll begin by saying that, yeah, LEDA, we are a small nonprofit, but we serve nationwide. So we actually heavily rely on our CBO partners, educators, and, you all who are on the front lines of youth serving, whether that's in a school or again, through an organization. We rely on the relationships we're able to build with y'all as partners in supporting these students. And so that's one of the big ways is obviously like me following through on building those relationships. But the biggest thing as well, as I mentioned earlier, and I sent the events calendar, one of the ways that we, get people plugged in, both educators and students, is by providing ongoing support through our application process. I didn't mention it during my presentation, but similar to, again, these fantastic women, our application is modeled after the Common Application. So it's really about preparing students for an application of that size. Now, you all know that's no easy lift. So we're not just sending these applications out and expecting y'all to support students and, returning, but instead every single month, September through December, we will have events at least twice a week, virtual event sessions like these. My camera will be on. Students are welcome to come and use those as opportunities to work on their application and again, get FaceTime with us and ongoing support through the application process. But we also host educator info sessions, and those are opportunities for you all to reach out, to obviously continue to stay plugged in with us. But I'm also always more than happy to give individualized presentations, to continuously give individualized support, meet one-on-one with counselors and whatnot. So I would say for us, it's very much so about building and maintaining relationships and having that responsibility really fall on us to make sure we're following up with you all who are doing the incredible heavy load work of, again, serving these youth on the front lines. So
I just wanted to add, since our program is so specific to Native and Indigenous students, for us, the pandemic was really tough because we do try to have in-person touch points with students. It's really important for us to visit tribal communities and rural areas. So that often involved me traveling, that may involve other staff members traveling, which is important because we like to make contact with families and tribal communities and build sort of trust in the process. But in the meantime, we lean heavily on not just high school counselors, but also people out there like Indian education liaisons. So if you are a counselor out there, like finding out if your district might have somebody there in place to support Native students in your specific area, school district, whatever it may be, even specific school, because those are often the individuals who might be attending our session and telling us, hey, we want to get this information out to our entire school district. So we do rely on a lot of people, but there's some specific avenues to get in touch with Native educators out there that likely know about us, and we rely heavily on our alumni community as well. We get many siblings, many cousins, students from the same tribal community, that come year after year. Maybe their tribe helps fund them, things like that. So
I think that those are great points, and I see Marla unmuted. I'll turn over to her in a second, but I think that there's so much that we're hearing on it's great if students and schools know about these programs, but a lot of it is word of mouth. And we hear that and see that a lot in pretty much everything rural. So Marla, maybe you can start us off. I'm wondering if that's the case and a lot of these students are hearing from a teacher or a counselor or someone in their community about these programs, what should counselors know in order to advise their students in applying? Like, how can they help? Marla, do you want to kick us off with that?
Yeah, and I can speak to QuestBridge again. I know it's going to vary depending on the program, but something that we find really helpful. Similarly, we do really rely on our educator campaign, reaching out to counselors, reaching out to teachers who have submitted recommendations to advise their students, because you often know your students, you definitely know your students better than we do, but we know it's not perfect, right? And especially for QuestBridge, because we are looking for low income students, you may not necessarily know that. So really what we recommend is, any students that you believe could be eligible, just letting them know about our programs, sharing that email sign up list, directing them to our website so they can self-determine. That helps us a lot. I think we get a lot of misconceptions that, or not even misconceptions, but someone doesn't want to recommend a student, and we understand if you don't believe they're eligible, but really encouraging them to take ownership of that process, look into the program, and see if they are eligible.
Yeah, I'll just quickly add, kind of similar to what I said in the last question. A lot of counselors, I feel like, want to engage with their Native student community on campus, or they might be serving Native students. And it's always my biggest piece of advice to find out what local tribal communities are around you. It may not be totally intuitive. It's definitely not always, in the job description, if you will, but it is an additional resource to understand like what tribal communities surround this area and what resources can they offer to these students. Because like I said, our main touch point is like the tribal education department. We interface with the Navajo Nation education department, all the different Pueblos, the Cherokee Nation, like, every tribe typically has an education department. So getting familiar and just comfortable with those resources and understanding like what might be relevant to your students, that's the best way to connect with us, because we're giving all of our information to those tribal educators and they're connecting to the schools. So for us, it's a little specific, but it is just a helpful tip, I think, if you are serving Native students.
And if it's okay, I'll just quickly hop in and say, in terms of, because I know I dropped several links and I didn't necessarily explain them all, but on the front of answering the question of how counselors can, support students who might be interested, the nomination form is a link that any counselor, educator, students can use it as well. But basically all it does is give us a student's information so that, again, now the ball is in our court. We can follow up with your students. We can share with them events that are there to support them through the application process. So feel free to submit that nomination form for as many students as possible. I also think it can be a really energizing boost to get that notification like, oh, my counselor nominated me. So that's one of the tools that we have at y'all's disposal to, again, shift that responsibility and the support now in our court so we can follow up with your students.
This is all so helpful. I know we're just at time here, but I think that these questions have been really great and really kind of the key to this program. So I'm going to ask two more. If you have to hop off any of our participants, we completely understand this will be recorded, but let's spend a couple more minutes just answering these. I think they're really important. So all of your programs are selective or competitive, and they basically require students to complete almost full applications to college kind of on an earlier timeline. And so I'm wondering if there's any kind of advice you can give for students who might not get selected, or counselors who are kind of dealing with that, or if there are reasons why students might not get selected that counselors can kind of sort out at the beginning. Does maybe one or two people want to address that?
You want to start, Marla?
Okay. Yeah, so I can hop in with that. I think we get this question a lot, and it's very fair because it is a really intensive process for the QuestBridge application. And we really just hope that students don't walk away from it discouraged of their own abilities as an applicant. As we mentioned, it's a really competitive program. And at QuestBridge, when we select students, we're selecting all students that are eligible, meet our eligibility criteria, but we recognize that it's very strict, particularly the financial eligibility. Again, as counselors, you may not know the full picture of your student's financial situation. They may be a stellar student. They, essentially you're like, they have to be a QuestBridge scholar, but there may be something in their financials that unfortunately doesn't make them eligible for our programs, which is why we always encourage students to apply to our college partners on their own if they aren't accepted as a finalist. Many students end up being accepted, receiving generous financial aid on their own. So that's one thing I would note, particularly for QuestBridge.
And I'll just quickly add that, as I mentioned, we are trying to support students throughout the application process. But one of the things that they hear from me all the time is that they have literally a landscape of hundreds of opportunities for them, right? So I always tell them, don't, just apply to this one program. Oftentimes an application like LEDA, reduce, reuse, recycle, that's a platform for you to send off as many applications as you want for the landscape of opportunities that exist for these students. So one of the things I try to do is always encourage them in our application process by saying that by completing this application, you are therefore having a draft for many other applications to send off, to apply to all the opportunities that excite them. And of course, we want them to apply to LEDA, but are very much so invested at the end of the day in their success and their happiness. And yeah, LEDA is a competitive program. So I'll just quickly say that one of the things that helps a student stand out for us, given the fact that we are able to give such high resources throughout every step of a student's journey, is just that there's somebody who genuinely cares about the well-being of others as well. So LEDA is about choosing compassionate young leaders. They might not see themselves as that yet, but they're people who care about having an impact in their community or in communities generally. And so oftentimes that's what we're looking for, and that's what makes students stand out in our applications.
I will just quickly add that at College Horizons, because we don't just serve rising seniors, we serve rising juniors and seniors. We do give students the opportunity to actually reapply if they've applied and maybe we feel like they aren't ready to make use of the full resources available to them at the program. We will actually provide them feedback and maybe reach out and have a conversation directly with them. We take a lot of time and care to read each of our students' applications and figure out how they're going to be a fit for our program. Is it going to be beneficial to them in the sense that, hopefully they don't feel like they're drowning in that space. So we want them to be as ready as possible. And in some cases that does mean reapplying the next year, which is typically a successful, venture for them.
And I actually think that that's the perfect way to wrap. All of these three panelists are wonderful people, as well as kind of representatives for the organization. And I think it's important for the counselors and students to understand that those reading the applications and providing these programs want the students to be successful. And the fact that they're all here today kind of taking that time out, and we're super excited to present to our rural organization and connect with rural counselors, says a lot for this space. I know that all three of you in your program presentations really did emphasize community as being a part of the success of your programs, of getting students there, of graduating from the program, going to college, graduating from college, and the support they're providing the whole way through. And I think that that is essential, and it's a lot of what we try to do kind of in rural work as well. So I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank all of our participants for joining live and later through the recording. I want to thank the SIG for hosting this event, and I know that people will definitely reach out to y'all with questions or with great candidates, I'm sure. You might get some of those in your inbox as well. But thank you all again. And that is going to be the end of our presentation for today. So hopefully we'll